Hello parents, this video is to help explain a few of the strategies that we have been using in our classroom. So I'll be toggling between the screens here. I'm pretty new at the toggle thing, so be patient. I'm just going to minimize myself. So in the letter home about the math probes, I had said I'd make a video showing you some of the strategies. On my screen now, you should be able to see my presentation of a hundreds chart. This is something all the kids really like to use in the classroom. This is a couple things that we learn with this is we look for the patterns. We've been stressing that when I go down on a number line, I'm adding 10, or if I start at a number and I move up, I am subtracting 10. Many of them have a difficulty with that concept. So if you could just kind of repeat those kinds of words with them at home would definitely benefit them. We also talk about how when we move to the right, our numbers are getting bigger. If we move to the left, our numbers get smaller. And for our even younger students, the first graders, it's really hard for them to understand. Once I get to the end of this line, I'm going to start down here to the left again and move that way, just like when we are reading. So helping them navigate that number line or hundreds chart. So the hundreds chart is not really a tool I personally like for adding and subtracting. I think it's good to learn money and things on, but some of the kids really rely on this. So I'm just going to show you two examples here. I'm going to show you 12 plus 9 and 44 plus 14. So what we teach the kids is start at the number, the bigger number. So I'm going to start at 12. Okay. So put my little dot there on the 12. Normally I would have them put their finger. And then we're going to count on, because I'm adding means I'm going to get bigger. I'm going to count 9 squares. So what you got to be careful that they don't do is count the 9 or say 1 when they touch that number 12. Many of the kids like to start there. So they need to hop first and then start counting their 9 squares. So what I would do is then I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is where they get tricky. They need to know they need to come all the way back down here and go 9. And so my dot gets left there, and I can look underneath it, and I can see my answer is 21. So I can say 12 plus 9 equals 21. Seems like it's a long process, but that's how many of them choose to do it. We've, excuse me, for 44 plus 14, we would encourage, again, find that bigger number. So we're going to put a red dot on the bigger number, which is 44. And then I need to move 14. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and going on and on and on, I know that I have 110 here, and use this language with them because we talk about place value every single day. I have 110 and 4 ones in this number. So I know if I have 110, I just got to move 1 down. That tells me go down 1. And then the 4 ones tells me I have to move over 4. So I move down 1. The 4 is going to tell me to move 4. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can find that 44 plus 14 would equal 58. Again, first graders are not doing this kind of math, so first grade parents don't get freaked out about that. My second and third grade parents, we are doing double-digit addition and subtraction. We have learned how to set them up in a vertical fashion and use how we traditionally learned it when we were in school, where we add the ones and then move over to the tens and work our way that way. We have also discussed borrowing, and we have also discussed carrying over that 1 when doing the different addition and subtractions. So I do know how to do that. Many of my kids like to try and do it this way and not show me the work. And I keep trying to explain to them when we get to those 3-digit numbers, which is going to come very soon, that the strategy won't work for you. So we need to understand that process. They also have notes that I can also share with you that of the process and how we do the double-digit addition subtraction. So that's just a side note. All right, so that's using a hundreds chart, pretty straightforward. The number line is one that most kids, they don't necessarily like to use it, but when they do use it, they usually up their accuracy. So I'm going to show you how to add and subtract using a number line. So for 7 plus 8, again, we're just going to start at that first number. And we've talked about, and I have this slide in here too, it doesn't matter when I'm adding whether I start with the bigger number or the smaller number. It's easy if you just tell them start with the bigger number, because then it helps when they get to the subtraction. So, but since 7 is listed first, I'm going to start with 7. Then I'm going to move up. When they know adding gets bigger, move 8 spaces. So I'm going to just count again, make sure they're not counting this spot where the red dot is. They're going to hop it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then they're, usually we have them put a finger on a dot and move their pencil, but I can't show you that on the computer. So that would be 7 plus 8 is 15. Pretty easy. Subtraction, many of them just think everything's an addition problem. So we do try to encourage looking at that math symbol. So there's the subtraction math symbol. In this time, again, we're going to start with that first number, which in subtraction is the bigger number. So I'm going to start at that 16. Okay. And then I'm going to hop backwards this time, because when I take away things, I get smaller. This time I'm going to hop backwards 7 spaces. So I would just count them backwards. Again, don't count the number where the red dot is. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I will find that 16 take away 7 is this number right here, the number 9. So that would help me find 16 take away 7. So those are 2 really good strategies I would encourage them to use when they're using that math probe. I'm going to make my screen bigger here real quick. At least try and make my screen bigger. Yeah, it might disappear. Oh, no. Ooh, I am really big. Okay, so the other one is fingers. They really like to use fingers. But again, a lot of times I will see if I'm doing 6 plus 3, I see people go 6. And then they're like, well, where do I put my 3 fingers? That works. Or they might, 5 and 5, that works. Excuse me. But when I get 7, right? And then they want to put up 7 plus, we'll go back to that 7 plus 8. I don't have 8 more fingers over here to do that. So I see a lot of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then they're going, and they don't really know what to do with those numbers. So what we try to do is if I'm doing 7 plus 8, I teach them to throw out that number. Throw out the first number. So if I throw out 7, I won't be counting anything on my hands. Okay. Then on my hands, I'm adding 8. So I'm going to throw out 7, but count on 8. And this is where also, if they don't have very good fine motor skills, the numbers and the fingers don't go down when they need to. So let's throw out the 7. So I would go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I have added, by throwing out my 7 and counting on with my 8 to 15. That shows that. Other things I see, mistakes that you'll see them do at home is they'll throw out the 7 and then they'll start counting the 8. We don't do that either. So again, throw out that bigger number. Make sure you're showing that number you want to go to on your fingers so you know. Some kids might also they might count up to that 8 on their fingers if they're good with that. But many of the students struggle. No, just me flashing them that would be 8. So again, they would throw out 7 and they would go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And even I'm missing up. There's my 8, so I would stop at 15. So that gets confusing for them. But if they already hold that number on their hand when they throw it out, it helps. And it works with subtraction too. Again, I'm going to start at my bigger number. If they're not very good with counting backwards, so this gets a little tricky. But if I were to do that 16 takeaway, I would 16 take away 7. So again, here's my 7 I'm going to take away. I'm going to throw out 16 and count backwards. So 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. So my answer would be 9. So it is a tricky thing. It's a lot for the brain. Again, fact memorization would be great. But we know the needs of our students, they struggle a little bit with that memorization, even with their words and recall. So giving them those tactile things they can use. Many of them, and I know this, we probably are guilty of this, trying to make circles and dots, but that also gets confusing because they miscount. So if you need any more questions about our strategies, I'm just going to flash you this. You can pause the video because I'm running out of time. Those are the different properties that we've learned for adding and subtracting. Again, see Mrs. Walker if you have any questions. And now I'm going to try and stop.